DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show. It is Monday. We have 6 games here on the DraftKings main slate. Your guy Grande was on today's NBA DFS Playbook. James and I did the morning show, broke it all down for you as best as we could. And then throughout the day, more people got ruled out. And you can kind of throw some of the things we said just away completely as we broke it down this morning. We knew Nikola Jokic was out. Aaron Gordon got a midday questionable. Now we'll see whether or not he ends up suiting up for Denver. Anthony Davis, as of right now, just tweeted, expected to play tonight. We'll see how much for how long, but AD returning for Dallas, that matchup against Brooklyn. Zion Williamson ruled out, as Grande kind of expected, as he brought that up during the morning show. Quentin Grimes not going to play 40 minutes tonight. That's because he's not in the lineup for Philadelphia. Sixers are continuing to rest players, which just throws even more value into today's slate. Again, Denver's without Nikola Jokic, to Chicago, and they got that matchup against Denver. They've been scoring a lot of points. Toronto ruling guys out. It's a messy slate, but I think maybe we kind of have locked in on some plays where we want to go tonight, James.
CJ McCollum also out for New Orleans. So there's been a lot that's gone down throughout the day. Still some stuff to sort out. But, yeah, I mean, it's 8 games over on FanDuel if you're playing over there. That's fun. But, yeah, it's an interesting slate. So.
Yep, for sure. We appreciate y'all tuning in here, Cujo and early Dez and Donnie Boone in here early with us as well. If you guys have any comments, throw them in the chat. Happy to discuss. Throw them on screen for you guys and break it all down. Remember, we do go position by position. For those who are new, we will build a lineup at the end of today's show as well. So make sure you stay tuned. Hit that like, that share, and subscribe button. Luka is your top price player on the slate tonight, $12,300. When you're looking at point guard tonight, Grande, it's Luka. Then you drop down a little over $3,000 to Josh Giddey. You have Reeves, Scotty Barnes, Halliburton, Murray, and White all in the 8K range as well. Do you find yourself, given the value that's on today's slate, getting to Luka, or do you think that there are better point guard options for us here today?
So, I think that there's a couple ways to look at this. One, Luka's ownership has definitely come up throughout the day. It was essentially 0 throughout the day. And I think people now, with everything that's gone down in New Orleans and Philly, and just being able to know where to spend your money, now Luka's ownership has basically 15x'd since the morning. It was 0 and now it's not. So there's always the chance that Luka goes crazy, has a ceiling. It's a really slow-paced game, really bad. And I never put it past Luka to have a ceiling game. 29 of those 34 points he scored against Chicago came in one half. It just goes to show you what he can do. Just different teams, though. Chicago is a really fast-paced environment. Orlando is not. Game total is not great. 214.5 is the lowest on the board. But the ceiling is there. So if you want to play Luka, you can. I just not one of the things that I feel a necessity. But it is always worth mentioning when there is a star player and there are 8 players at his position that have higher rostership than him.
Yeah.
It always is something where you should just build with, and just if you're a single entry player, just build and see what your lineups look like with Luka, because without Luka is a lot easier, but it's not like there's a shortage of value that you're going to have a hard time getting to Luka tonight.
Yep, agreed. And again, point guard, shooting guard tonight loaded with that value. I mentioned Giddey, obviously nearly quadruple doubled the other day, went for 73 fantasy points. He had a 64 fantasy point game against Miami, 17 assists. He's giving you double digit rebounds. The scoring's been pretty consistent as well. I don't think we'll see 8 steals again. This is not a guy known for any sort of defensive upside generally. But again, Denver, not a good defensive team in their own right. We talked Halliburton. He came back, double-double. Jamal Murray with the usage rate, 26% without Jokic on the floor at $8,100. He's probable to go in this game. And again, maybe no Aaron Gordon now as well. And then Kobe White, 35 and 36 actual the last 2 games, scoring the basketball on the other side of that group. How do you rank them out?
Giddey is 1. Murray is 2. Kobe White 3, Halliburton 4. I like all of them, and Austin Reeves distant last.
Yeah,
I like all of them. Giddey would be number 1 for me. The ceiling has been incredible. The numbers without the guys that they're without, Lonzo, Ayo Dosunmu, obviously they traded Levine. 1.5 fantasy points per minute. And he's just what he is. He's an elite rebounder. Trey Jones as well. Elite rebounder for a guard. Great passer for a guard. And, what has elevated his ceiling nightly is the scoring. He's just been a good scorer since the All-Star break. Out of necessity, maybe. Obviously never showed this in OKC consistently, but there were a couple guys over there that the Bulls definitely don't have. So, right. If he's going to continue to make threes and be effective offensively, then yeah, I think that this is something that can stick. And you know what? Like, obviously you look at these 2 teams on paper, one of them significantly better than the other one. The Bulls have been really good lately. They won a bunch of games, 7 of 9, I believe. And Denver is on the second leg of a back-to-back without Jokic, with a bunch of guys listed on their report at that.
238 total, 3.5 point spread. That's all it is tonight. So
yeah, I think Giddey definitively, and the ownership is there. It's not like you're not getting like a low owned Josh Giddey, but he is excellent at 91. I feel the same way about Jamal Murray, and we had mentioned it last night on the preview show with Denver, and I don't know if it's going to happen tonight, because if Gordon sits, I think Westbrook, the most likely thing is where they just slide Westbrook back into the starting lineup. But I think no coincidence, they move Westbrook back to the bench. Jamal Murray has 39 points, and in that game, he has a 37% usage rate. Like, I think there's a lot of connectivity there. No Jokic, no Westbrook in the starting lineup. It's just Jamal Murray and friends. And when it's Jamal Murray clicking like this, he is an absolute elite offensive player.
Yeah.
Second best player on a title team. Good. I mean, that was a few years ago. So
50 fantasy points in 2 of the last 3. So
that has the ceiling. Yeah.
Very capable.
Yeah. And then I like Kobe. Well, we can talk about, we'll talk about Kobe here. Back-to-back players of the week, by the way, for the NBA. I feel like you don't see that very often, but sure. Obviously the scoring has been what it's been. He has been so elite in that category specifically. The peripheral stats, he needs to score to get us like a ceiling, because the peripheral stats have really fallen by the wayside with the return of Nikola Vucevic and with Giddey doing what he's doing. But I do think 8K against Denver is a solid price. So I have no issue going right back to Kobe White. And I think Halliburton's the kind of like the forgotten guy here, and a really interesting tournament play, because first off, he has 10 straight double-doubles predating the injury, and obviously since he's returned from the injury. Yeah. 10 straight double-doubles, and you just see what happens when he scores in those double-doubles. I mean, look at during this stretch in like every game except every game that he has scored 20 points in, he's given you at least 50, and multiple times has given you 60 fantasy points. Like, the peripheral stats are great. When he pairs that with the scoring, he's in every winning GPP lineup there is. So,
and we consider Minnesota like, oh man, tough team facing Minnesota. Indiana's right, same record. Indiana's actually a 1.5 point favorite in this game, 227.5 total. Sure, we consider Minnesota to be a better defensive team, but defensively, that comes more so on their wing play, not always necessarily, at this point with their guard play. If Vegas is telling us 227 total and Indy's a 1 point favorite here, that's probably because they think Halliburton has to have a competitive game. Otherwise, Minnesota shouldn't have too much trouble here. I know we're still waiting on the Anthony Edwards news as well for this game, right? He was questionable going into it, so that could change if he ends up getting ruled in or out. But definitely a tournament play with Halliburton. You mentioned the value, so obviously there's a lot of value at the point guard position. Do you just jump to that, or do you give merit to any of these mid-tier guys here?
I do want to just comment. Minnesota's defense is very good.
I know.
Unit wide, they are very good. So I'll that'd be my pushback there. I like Emmanuel Quickly today, and it's tricky with Toronto in general, very tricky. It's not my favorite thing to do lately. I say that I played 2 Raptors yesterday. I cashed with 2 Raptors, but I played 2. And that is tricky because night to night seems different with how they're handling their minutes. But at the very least, even in big losses like we saw last night, Quickly wasn't there. But Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett in a 30-point loss played 30 minutes. So at a baseline of 30 minutes, I am very comfortable getting to Emmanuel Quickly. Mm-hmm. He's been very good per minute. He has been very good on the floor. Since the All-Star break, 26.5% usage, 1.2 fantasy points per minute, and now RJ Barrett's not playing. So if you're gonna get 30 minutes out of Emmanuel Quickly against Washington, then I am in. And no one's gonna play Toronto tonight, and I will be on the other side of that coin because I think if we're going to see Darko trending upwards with giving his players minutes again and getting 30 minutes again, 6,600 is too cheap for Emmanuel Quickly based on this run of production that we've gotten out of him.
Do you like Quickly at 66 or Butler at 61 better?
I like the pivot to Emmanuel Quickly. I will say I like Jared Butler a lot on FanDuel. He's really cheap. He's like $5,200 on FanDuel. Mm-hmm. He has not looked like the same player like he was in Washington with Philly. He has not looked very good. He's just under a fantasy point per minute. I get it. I also could play other Philly guards for cheaper that I would. So sure. I am a little wishy-washy with a $6,100 Jared Butler, even though there's no Quentin Grimes. I understand it.
20+% of the ownership so far tonight.
He gets it every slate. This is every slate. I tweeted about it early, last week. I was like, no matter what, Jared Butler, he was like $6K last week. I was like, people are not paying attention to how poorly he's played because he has not played well, and he's like the 3rd highest roster player. That changed over the course of time, but
no Grimes, no Lonnie Walker, they just keep usage players just keep dropping off for Philadelphia tonight. So I think that's probably why that ownership's there. You called out the D'Angelo Russell likely not playing in this game. Dallas, you have Keon Johnson here, another guy that has shown a decent ceiling at times this year when given the opportunity. He's $5,900. You mentioned cheaper Philly guys. I'm assuming you're mentioning or considering Doughton here as an option as a cheaper Philly guard at $5,000. Alvarado is where some of the ownership is going here tonight. Both Pelicans guards, him and Hawkins, are your chalky plays here at the guards position.
Yeah, basically all 3 of the names you just, I guess 4. I like Keon Johnson in tournaments. No one's going to play him. He has a high ceiling, 25% usage without D'Lo, plus all the other guys there without. I do like Jeff Doughton. He has 4 games left on his 2A. So there's obviously something that there we need to consider. They only have 9 available from what I counted. I believe it's 9 with Adem Bona returning.
They did sign a 10-day today.
Yeah, not Marvin Bagley.
No.
Who I was like, wait, Marvin Bagley? He's on Memphis, isn't he? And then I saw it was like Marcus Bagley. I was like, that's not a real player. But yeah, I guess we'll see if the last 2 times they've done this, those players have been in uniform. Chuma Okeke and O'Shea Brissett.
And played like a whole bunch of minutes.
Yeah. So if he plays, that's 10. That's 10. Marcus Bagley? That's his name?
I think so.
He is 6'6". His brother is Marvin Bagley.
There you go.
Wait, hold on. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. Marcus Bagley is
you don't know maybe what?
I don't know if he is or not.
It says siblings.
Oh, okay. Because the first thing says people also search for on my Google.
Yeah,
Marvin Bagley was the first name, but I like
Marvin is his brother.
Okay.
Marcus went undrafted, played college at Arizona State, and has been in the G League. So,
okay. Well, obviously we can't play him, but that is something to consider. 11 and a half points per game. No, it's not the G League stats I'm looking for anyway. But I do think if Doughton is starting, obviously you don't have to worry about the two-way status for him because he'll just play. They're not going to have him active and waste a game. So I like Doughton if he suits up. The Alvarado one I'm interested in. This is obviously a scenario for Jose Alvarado where he may he's going to play, but they also have a lot of these young players on their roster that they just might be looking to get into the lineup. So if Jose Alvarado played mid 20s minutes and didn't get extended, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he only got extended 28 minutes yesterday. I know they were more full strength, but New Orleans also does have a bunch of pieces on their roster that they could play. They don't have to just extend Jose Alvarado. Yeah. They gave Elf a 10-day. They called up Lester Quinonez from the G League. They have Antonio Reeves that we saw score 35 points in a game who helped me win a tournament. He helped me win a tournament that day. They've given Keon Brooks Jr., an undrafted player. They gave him 20 minutes in back-to-back games, legit rotation minutes. There is no guarantee Jose Alvarado just is they don't have people, got to play him 35 minutes. Now they might, but just their situation versus others in the past, right? Dallas had 8 guys. They had to play people. New Orleans got 20 dudes on the roster that could play tonight. So I like Alvarado. He's a good fantasy player. But
ownership wise, obviously, 40, Alvarado sitting at 43%. So
yeah,
it'd be a ballsy fade, I guess, if you go somewhere else, right?
I mean, I don't necessarily believe that. That's why,
well, you're fading a guy that's 42%, right? If he goes off, you don't have him, you get smoked. If you don't play him and he doesn't have a good game, then you win. So that's why
it's just your belief in what they're going to do. Second leg of a back-to-back. They haven't really been too keen on extending him late, especially since the calendars turned to March. 28 minutes. I'm not saying he can't get there. He is a very good fantasy producer. But
yeah, I mean, obviously not having McCollum in this situation changes that a little bit, but I hear what you're saying. They do have other guards that they can kind of roll out there. So and even then, he's been a good fantasy producer in the 25, 28 minutes at times this year. And this is a Philly team that's got nobody going either. So
yeah, I'm not saying fade, by the way. I'm not. I'm just saying that I think you can make the case to do it.
Sure. No, definitely can always make cases fade chalk. We do it all the time. Any other guards that you'd play here? Any other point guards that you'd play?
We'll talk Hawkins. We'll just talk Hawkins at shooting guard.
Yeah. Gammy says the Elf Payton. I mean, if Elf was a start, we'd play him.
If Elk is starting, if he's starting,
very risky to play him if he's not starting because he could just DNP. So
yeah, leave him on the shelf if he's not starting.
Yeah, exactly. Edward is 95. Like I said, we're going to wait and see whether or not he actually plays in this game or not. You get Wagner and Reeves, got some dual crossover position eligibility guys with White and Murray here. Where do you go at shooting guard today?
So you could definitely play Ant if you want to play Ant. I think he has a very high ceiling, massive usage rate, great fantasy player per minute guy. Once again, I'm going to say the same thing we've said basically every show about Franz Wagner. Don't understand the ownership. It just has to be positional at this point where people are just like, man, these positions kind of stink. Not to say he was smashing in that game, but again, we're paying an absolute premium for a guy who just hasn't looked right for a month and a half. Yeah. So I'm kind of out at that ownership. You could play Murray and Kobe White here, fortunately for us, because both those guys look great at a bad position.
Yeah.
I did write up Kevin Huerter, I'm sure to your surprise today in the playbook. It's not that I loved it, and I think I even noted that in the playbook.
Did you get sick while doing it? Yeah.
I think I wrote so the passage I wrote and started in the playbook today was, I don't love Kevin Huerter, but I actually don't hate him. So
good enough.
I think he's going to be harder to get to with the value today.
I was going to say on all slates, it's the lowest rostered he's projected to be in a week. And now you're in on him. So
yeah, well, that's also my brain telling me okay, he's lower owned. I don't need to play a 30% Kevin Huerter here.
Sure.
There's a ceiling if Kevin Huerter goes nuclear. The minutes and the matchup are really what spoke to me. And you said it on the show, and I'm very dismissive of Kevin Huerter. I think I called him my 5th favorite bull on this slate. I think I've upgraded him to my 4th favorite bull still, but he was 5th last night, so he gets one of the tick in that box. But if he just makes shots against a bad defense, Denver's bottom 10 in that category. These are both top 10 teams. You already highlighted that this game has nearly 240 implied points, and it's a close spread. So, I look at it like that. They're down Lonzo, who's going to expected to return this week. They're kind of shorthanded. They basically played an 8.5-man rotation for the last few weeks. That's Kevin Huerter's 35 minutes tonight, maybe more. So if you're going to get 35 minutes out of Huerter, then I think that there's a case for it.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Again, a lot of crossover when it comes to ownership here today. You mentioned Jamal Hawkins. You wanted to talk Jordan Hawkins, rather. You wanted to talk here. He's 4K. He is currently your highest roster player on the slate. $4,000. We know what he can be offensively. There's no McCollum. There's no Zion. You mentioned maybe being iffy on Alvarado. Do you feel the same on Hawkins today?
I like Jordan Hawkins, but I'm a Jordan Hawkins believer.
I am too. We always say get this guy more playing time.
Two comments. One, Josh Giddey, Don doesn't like anything over 18, and happy birthday to Dez. I saw Dez commenting in the chat, or happy belated Dez. Wow, you're old. Holy cow.
Always love when everybody's in the chat.
Yeah, always love when everyone's in the chat. Hawkins is just a very talented offensive player. He just needs to be extended. I noted in the playbook today, last time McCollum sat was a back-to-back, which you and I talked about on the pre-show. But Hawkins actually started that game. Didn't really get extended. He only played 24 minutes. He was fine in that one. But I do think that there's some merit to going back to the well with how well he's played lately. I mean, shooting the ball better than 40%, 3 straight. We know that he's a very streaky shooter in general. The minutes have obviously been trending in the right direction, 27 or more in 3 of his last 4 games. And the production's been good there. So that's definitely chalk that I like. But I think there's some other names around that range you can get to as well.
What else are you looking at?
So Zaire Williams, just circling back a little bit, $4,600. he's not a high usage player. He's not a great fantasy point per minute player, but he is solid. The minutes have been great. Brooklyn is doing the most proper tank ever because Brooklyn plays their guys and then they just lose games in the final minute.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a proper tank. That is how every team should operate. Obviously Anthony Davis could make a big difference for Dallas, but I don't think Dallas is like way better than Brooklyn where this is any type of blowout. Dallas 4-point road favorites. We should get mid 30s minutes out of Zaire, 27 plus fantasy points out of him in like 6 of his last 8 games. So I like Zaire. Tyrese Martin is fine, starting fine. And then I think there's an outside chance again, and I should not be talking as much Toronto as we are, but I do kind of like Jacoby Walter if he's in the starting lineup. He missed that extended time with the hip injury and then played 25 minutes out of the gate. And then they ruled out RJ Barrett today.
Mm-hmm.
So, they've had a weird rotation, obviously. Like AJ Lawson back with the G League, didn't play. Garrett Temple's back out of the rotation. Battle's been playing. Like it's been a mess. Agbaji went from playing DMP, playing again. But I think with RJ out, there's a chance that they get Walter back into the starting lineup. This is their first round pick from this year. Still no Grady Dick. Like there's definitely minutes to be had on the wing. Yeah. And he closed in a blowout last night. So any scenario, Jacoby Walter should be on the floor. I think, positionally, shooting guard, small forward. If he's in the starting lineup and you're like making a decision between him and Jordan Hawkins, I think there's a legitimate case for Walter that he's the better play.
I mean, he's coming in at 2%, so that alone, right? Like,
yeah,
you get a 2%er to come over and score more fantasy points than a 52%er.
Yeah,
that's going to give you a good chance there.
You can play them both, for the record. Not saying don't, but I do think like if we get a starting lineup with Toronto and Jacoby Walter's in it, he's a bucket. Like he comes in and he shoots.
No concern about playing with Quickly and Barnes and all them. I know obviously you mentioned yesterday, but
no.
Okay. Small forward. Got LeBron at 10-3 if we wanted to go there against Orlando. Then a lot of dual positional eligibility plays here. With Aaron Gordon now questionable, does Michael Porter Jr. become any more interesting to you at 68?
Dude, his numbers without Jokic look so bad this year. They just look so bad. The minutes haven't been great. Like he was getting benched last night, offense, defense type stuff, which you hate to see. That's like old Michael Porter where he was getting benched in offense, defense stuff. And you're like, that stinks. The matchup is good.
His that big stretch of his was when there's no Westbrook, no Gordon in the lineup, right?
Just
Joker.
Yeah, it was just and he was so good, dude. He was so good.
I mean, right there, as Coach Chris says, Cam Johnson's right there. I mentioned Cam Johnson to you last night. You were good with it, but you didn't love it. Now I know Russell. Like, does it change? I know you said like Russell doesn't really do much for Johnson in terms of a usage, but I mean, he is taking a ton of shots. Like there's got to be something here for your guy. He was one of your OGs, 40 plus fantasy points in 3 of the last 4.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously I like the player. Man, I don't know. Seeing the ownership too it's definitely not making me want to play him more. He's the 3rd highest rostered.
Well, small forward sucks.
Of the day.
Small
forward does suck. I will grant you that obviously he's been good, and obviously there's still a ceiling. Dallas is in the month of March 29th in defense, so it's not like this is some bad spot. No, it's a great spot. Everything really like checks the boxes there. 26-ish% usage rate. over a fantasy point per minute, like I have no qualms if anyone gets to
Yeah, the minutes
Cam
have been
Johnson.
great, right? Like everything's
Yeah.
trending well for him. Maybe it's just the price you don't like because he had been 6K, now he's 7K.
Yeah, I mean, I could do without the price, but it's fine. I have no issues getting there.
I kept mentioning Washington to you last night, much to your dismay. Does anything change for you on the Washington front?
Nope, we can
Nope.
continue to ignore them.
Okay.
It is interesting all day how much ownership Marcus Smart has gotten.
I think there was a Middleton getting a little bit of love too. Yeah, Middleton.
Yeah, Middleton and Smart, like it's just so. Guys, there is like so much more value on this slate. Like we don't need to do that stuff.
Don't need to play that.
We just don't.
How are you approaching Dallas tonight?
I'm kind of out completely. I don't know what to do. I mean, Anthony Davis is obviously such a.
I keep refreshing to see if we're getting any sort of like minutes projection from him. I haven't seen anything yet.
There has not been anything that I have seen either. But I don't know what.
He's not playing tomorrow. That's the only thing I got. This is the front leg of a back-to-back for Dallas. He's playing tonight. He's not playing tomorrow, which like maybe means he does have some extension. And apparently he's been the one pushing to play and all of these things. So
I don't know. Like I would say. You saw what happened in his initial return when he rushed back, right? He immediately re-aggravates the adductor, and then he's out for another, month
he was also dominating in that game.
Yes, but he re-aggravated. Yeah, absolutely dominating, but re-aggravated the injury.
Sure.
The overarching Dallas question is I have no clue what to do with the rest of the team.
He's been out for almost 2 months, so I can't imagine this is a rush back situation.
No. I'm not saying it's a rush back situation. I'm just saying he rushed back and ramped up because they traded their franchise superstar at 25 years old, and he wanted to show the organization what they were getting and what the fans, and then re-aggravated. I'm not saying he's rushing back here, but he's pushing to play. So it's basically we're doing it all over again, and he hasn't played in a month and a half. So how many minutes is Anthony Davis going to get?
I agree.
So that in turn just ruins the rest of the team because the team is priced up as if Anthony Davis is not going to play. Like every single Mav is too expensive if Anthony Davis plays. So I'm out completely, for the record.
Minnesota head coach saying Anthony Edwards will still be a game time decision with that laceration. We talked, obviously, if he gets ruled out, guys like McDaniels would have a little bit more appeal. Lakers did rule in Rui Hachimura for tonight. I don't think we're really interested in going there. Matherin's playing tonight. I mentioned Zaire can be played here. Jacoby Walter can be played here. Is there anything else that's small forward that you're interested in?
Yeah. Cover of the show, John.
Justin Edwards?
5K. Second highest roster player of the slate. But he's great. It looks great. The price is still not matching the player usage, just way up, fantasy production way up, shot volume way up, minutes way up, matchup elite, plug and play, move on. Terrible position, just plug this guy in and move on with your day.
I agree. 5K. Power forward.
Well, hold on. Hold the gosh dang phone. I'm just seeing if we need to talk some. There's a couple Pelicans things that we probably need to talk about. One, if Yves Missi doesn't play, they'll go back to that Makovic lineup, but that obviously shortens things. I do think there is a strong case for either Keon Brooks or Antonio Reeves.
Sure.
Because the last time that McCollum and Zion were out was that game they started Hawkins. But in that game, they also had Bruce Brown and Trey Murphy. Both of those guys don't play tonight. They've been giving Keon Brooks 20-plus minutes in back-to-back games, like in the rotation. And we've seen them extend previously Antonio Reeves a couple times. I wouldn't put it past them, one, if either of those players started, or even if it wasn't a start, if one of them or both came off the bench and played high 20s. Because, like, you're also seeing if Yves Missi plays, and it's something you and I talked about last night, the whole field's getting to Jeremiah Robinson Earl, and he largely got extended because of foul trouble.
Yeah.
Even if Missi plays, they're not short on bigs. They start three of them: Makovic, Kelly O, and Missi. So, like, they're more depleted in, like, the guard / wing room, especially with Bruce Brown sitting in this game. So I think there's a realistic possibility that we either see Brooks or Reeves in the starting lineup, or they're just extended for big minutes and they're playing, late if this game is close or not close, whatever. But I do think I just wanted to give a shout out to one of them, because everyone immediately going to Robinson Earl because what he did on Sunday. And I had said that on the show last night, but just like looking into things, Makovic fouled out in 20 minutes. Kelly O fouled out in 25 minutes. Like, he had a lot of runway to play all those minutes. And Bruce Brown was available yesterday. McCollum was available yesterday. So there's a lot more minutes to be had for some of these wings like Reeves and Brooks. So just wanted to give
we had a counsel question here. Any interest in rookie counsel?
I mean, if he is in the starting lineup, and like, because they're just giving Okeke so many minutes. They're starting Chuma Okeke, and they've played him now 31 plus minutes in 3 straight games. O'Shea Brissett, his 10-day ran out today, John. So, like, where you have the O'Shea Brissett, now there's this Marcus Bagley dude who's stepping in, and
yeah,
I think to get to Council or to feel the best about Council, you would probably need him in the starting lineup, and that is a little bit of a concern because I don't think we're going to get him in the starting lineup. But on the off chance that he's starting, then you can get. Then I think it's fine.
Okay. The Bagley thing is interesting. I did a quick scan on him. He was apparently projected to be a lottery pick, but left his team in Arizona State after getting into arguments with the coach. Apparently, he was like tweeting about him and got suspended and all this stuff. And yeah, so he ended up basically leaving college and like not finishing his college basketball career.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, costing himself some cash there. All right, power forward. Are we spending up for either of the top two? Obviously, Paolo is here at $9,900. Gets that Lakers matchup. Siakam, hard to get to PJ and Marshall if AD's back. What are your thoughts here up at power forward?
Yeah, I mean, I love Paolo, $9,900. Lakers have obviously been great defensively. As a whole, they have no longer do they have the number one rated defense, for what it's worth. In March, it has actually slipped to 19th. So, and Paolo's just been an absolute freaking monster. Since the All-Star break, 33.5% usage rate, 1.3 fantasy points per minute. Lakers coming off that demolition job that the Bulls gave them. Not that plays like much of a role, but
yeah,
pace up spot against a team that at one point was playing good defense is not in the current moment in time.
Yeah. I wrote up his over fantasy points today, 43.6 fantasy points.
Ooh, that's really low.
Doesn't that feel low?
Yeah,
what he's been doing, right?
Yeah, he looks really good, and he's obviously like really easy to get to. Like, if that's the anchor of your lineup, it's incredibly easy to pay up for, because he might just be the highest priced player in your build.
Yeah. So you got him at $9,900. I'm a big fan of that. Where do you go next at power forward today?
After that, you could definitely play Siakam if you wanted. I'm indifferent about it. Obviously, we'll have a talk about Minnesota as a whole, depending on the Anthony Edwards news. Fortunately for us, we'll get that news ahead of time. It's a bad position. Gershon, 28 minutes yesterday in a pretty competitive game, and they're getting a Dembona back. There's like ownership on him tonight. I don't actually love it because I do think a Dembona being back probably feeds into what Nick Nurse wanted to do with like limiting his minutes, but he just hasn't had the available centers to do so. So it's something I'm staying away from.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a position largely built on the value tier. You could play Justin Edwards here. We had a question about Kelly Olynyk.
Asked if he was going to be limited today.
He's not on any type of restriction. He fouled out yesterday. He was in massive foul trouble the whole game. Every time he checked back in that game, he picked up another foul. He's great per minute. The offense could actually even just flow through him with how many pieces they're out. Kelly, he's an elite passing big, probably in the top 10 in terms of like just pure passers.
He hung around the league for so long because he can do so many things well.
Yeah, so many things well. So yeah, I like Kelly Olynyk, like Edwards, obviously. If Council were to start, we just talked about. And I told you this in the pre-show.
You going back to Watford?
I am all in on Trendon Watford at low ownership today. I understand Zaire Williams is back. Like that, he had a couple game apps and whatnot. But Trendon Watford is just playing himself into, such like an elite role. And I've talked to you about this and on this show before about specific forwards like a Najee Marshall and a Trendon Watford, specifically the two guys that are elite playmakers at their size and positions. That's what Trendon Watford is. He handles the ball as well as any forward in the league. He's really good, like really, really good. And without D'Lo, Cam Thomas, and all the pieces that they've traded, 24% usage rate, over a fantasy point per minute. They're obviously like a little shorthanded. And every time they're competitive in games, Trendon Watford's extended and he's been really good, coming off 26 actual points. Like it's not surprising at all to me to see the minutes trending upwards and the fantasy production to follow because he's so good and no one's playing him. So
yeah.
I really like Trendon Watford. You can play Buzelis if you want. Again, they're shorthanded. With Trey Jones and Lonzo Ball out, they're going to start Buzelis. Can you rely on 31 actual again? No, but he's going to be there. We know Chuma Okeke is going to play a bazillion minutes again. So if you want to play that, Karlo Makovic, it's funny how people have kind of sour grapes on Makovic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's mainly because we're waiting to see if Yves Missi plays. But like everyone is rushing to play Robinson Earl and everyone's rushing to play all these Pelicans. Like he started yesterday. He just got in foul trouble. Like another, and I'm not saying that's not in the range of outcomes here,
sure.
But we've seen every time this guy gets extended, he's really good per minute. He just simply got in foul trouble. If he starts and plays 30 minutes tonight and he's 5% rostered or 2% rostered, whatever he is, he's going to be a really good low-owned tournament play in the – is this the poop bowl? Is this the poop bowl? I mean, it's pretty bad. So I like Carlo. Just another, really cheap play.
Sure.
Pat Will, 35, is going to play mid-20s minutes. He's going to get the most minutes off the bench. He's looked better. At least the minutes are trending upwards. And then Robinson Earl, man, this one's tricky for me because he's so highly rostered. And he really, really benefited from two guys fouling out yesterday. And I'm not saying he's not going to play because he's going to play. But, dude, he checked in at the 8:50 mark of the first quarter yesterday because Makovic had 2 fouls, 3 minutes into the game. And he played the rest of the first quarter. And then immediately, third quarter, Makovic plays 5 minutes, and then he gets his third foul. And then Robinson Earl closes the half. So it's like there was just a lot that went right for him in terms of foul trouble. Because in the second half, Kelly Olynyk picks up his fourth foul 3 minutes into the second half. Guess who came into the game, John?
Him.
And he played the next 15 minutes. Like, he played all these minutes because of foul trouble.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying he's not going to play and be fine. I just think that there is like a little, guys, he's 33% owned. Oh, man. I know they're more shorthanded than they were yesterday, but potentially like not. It's kind of gross.
I don't disagree with you. Obviously, playing any of these secondary pieces. What do you think if we end up getting Watson in the starting lineup tonight?
Yeah, Peyton Watson's really good. I didn't mention I would play Aaron Gordon if he suits up for the record as well. But I would play him. And if it's Peyton Watson, I mean, he's probably a little too cheap. He's not exactly like go out there and take 15 shot guy, but he's really good on the defensive end and is good enough like offensively and on the glass that you can make a case for it. So I am definitely interested if we get the Aaron Gordon news. It's going to be interesting because that game is an island game. So if we do not know the status of Denver, Chicago, that could really just tilt the slate in your favor if you're playing for people to sit, right? Mm-hmm. So that'll be interesting to watch.
Center, Luke, $7,600 goes down into the mid range. We know there's some value. Like, where do you start your center builds tonight?
I really like Lo Nikola Vucevic. The ownership has definitely come up throughout the day, but he's looked great recently. Minutes trending up. I don't think they're, with the addition of Zach Collins, I don't think they're going to play him more than what they're playing him. Like, I think 32, maybe 33 looks like the cap because they like Collins and so much that they're playing him over Jalen Smith. But he's looked so good on the floor. Another really good passing big who's making all of his threes, very good rebounder, and obviously in like isolation post offense, he's elite. That's always been his like bread and butter. So 40-year-old DeAndre Jordan out there and undersized Zeke Naji, who's like shown to be like good defensively, but like can be out muscled and out physicaled. I think it's a tough assignment. So I like Vooch in tournaments. I would only Washington exception I'm going to make is Alex Sarr. And it's just because the ceiling he has, even when he only plays like 28 minutes, right? So, I like Sarr in tournaments. I don't love him, but I see the case for it. Same thing goes for Jakob Poeltl. Why not? Why would I stop at 3 Raptors when I could suggest 4 of them? Like, Jakob Poeltl, I think, is really good per minute. You just need to get the minutes. Did get the minutes against Golden State, like 28. Again, suddenly like they're playing him again.
Yeah.
So it's a very risky proposition because you don't know, right? And it's the same thing with kind of like the Quickly and Scotty Barnes stuff and like night to night where it looks like they're trending in the right direction, but we've seen the rug pulled on us a couple times before where we think, oh, Utah's going to play their guy. No, they're not.
Yeah.
Washington's going to play. No, they're not. Right? Like, it's just what happens around the league now. So Poeltl in play in tournaments, and then you get to like all this like.
Well, the value is 2 guys tonight, right? We have the min price, DeAndre Jordan, getting 40% of the ownership, playing 38 minutes last night, 11 rebounds, 11 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists. And then Steve Messi, assuming he is in, he's also sitting around 40%. He's $4,500 though, so obviously much more expensive. Good upside for him. We know the double-digit rebounding. You take out everybody off the floor. Do you have a favorite of the 2? Like, would you trust at this point that Jordan is just locked into minutes tonight? I mean, what do we think happens here?
I have no idea with DeAndre Jordan, but like I have to believe that they outright beat a team that was on a 10-game winning streak last night. That is the 2 seed in the Western Conference. I have to believe they're going back to DeAndre Jordan tonight after what they did last night. So,
I mean, you and 40% of the field are going to play a guy in the last game of the night with potentially no pivot options.
Yeah, with potentially no pivots. And I think it's only 40 because of exactly that. Right? Like it's literally only that. The only it will be 80% if we get the Denver news before lock. He'll be 80% if they're like, yep, starting DeAndre Jordan again, or if we get it before the Philly New Orleans game, you'll have a lot of wiggle room too, because that game has so much ownership.
Yeah,
right? That game has endless ownership in that game.
I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see which direction. And we talked about it, right? Like if you're going to build with him, you got to kind of put him at your util, but then at that point, he's still 3K. Like where would your pivot even be if he's not starting? Unless they started somebody else, like a Zignagi. You looked at, right?
Like, you got to pray that Sarge is starting.
Yeah, something.
The pivot would be just to go to bed. You would just go to bed because you lost. And
yeah. Well, you probably get it honestly if he ends up being 40%, right? So. You can, or nobody else is going to be able to pivot with you, right? That's
at the very least, like he probably played himself into backup 5 minutes, right? Like,
yep.
Do you think he just DMPs after they outright beat Houston in Houston last night and he doubles? Like,
I don't, obviously, but I mean, like, he's 38 years old. And when's the last time a guy played heavy minutes back-to-back games? Like,
is he officially 38? Is that actually what he is?
I don't know. I think I said his minutes.
36. 36 years old.
36 years old, playing 38 minutes. What was like back-to-back?
He's big 7. This is year 17 for DeAndre Jordan.
I mean, listen, if Al Horford can do it, I guess DeAndre Jordan can do it, right? So
they've both been limited this year, John. Sure. One intentionally more than the other.
All right, let's get a lineup build here. How do we get Anthony Davis? We don't know yet. We don't know what we're gonna get for Anthony Davis for minutes yet. He's playing tonight. He's not playing tomorrow. That's about all we know.
Go to Michael's question here, John. I do think that would be a useful idea.
Yeah, I'd play Giannis against Phoenix. Giannis versus Phoenix here tonight. No Dame.
No Dame. It's a pretty good spot. He is very expensive, obviously. But.
Yeah, feels like a good spot. You also have Boston on that slate with like nobody playing. So,
potentially, yeah. Maybe
nobody playing.
Well, actually, I take it back. KP's in.
Yeah, Horford's out.
Hauser's
questionable.
Drew is in.
Yeah.
Jalen got upgraded to questionable.
True.
And I thought they had said Jalen wasn't going to play the 2 games, but I guess it's been 2 games already. So they might just be down
Horford,
Hauser and Horford, which I think the Celtics would be okay with. That 2-game slate is definitely. I mean, it's a part of the FanDuel main slate. Giannis is on that slate, definitively the top spend.
Yeah,
definitively the top spend
because there's still a lot of value that you can play on FanDuel to get Giannis very comfortably.
Yes, very much so.
And you can play them both at center and power forward. So you have
only power forward on FanDuel.
Really? I thought they must have recently made that change.
They're cracking down just on Giannis's position.
Yeah, I was gonna say, of course. Why not? All right. Well, then I guess we're just gonna truth ourselves into some.
We're playing DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre Jordan, Justin Edwards, Paolo.
I'm just gonna comment on the Coach Chris comment here.
Yeah.
I saw you ask this. Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to ignore you earlier. I'm okay playing like multiple Bulls spend ups if it includes Josh Giddey, because we're not playing Josh Giddey like we would play like Kobe White, right? Because we're playing Josh Giddey for the triple-double upside.
Mm-hmm.
Where like you're playing Kobe White, he scored 30 plus in like multiple games in a row and multiple games lately. and that you need that. So like, if you don't mind playing, I would prefer Kobe. But it's close, man. Halliburton looks great in tournaments for sure today. I'll lean Kobe White, but don't be afraid to play Tyrese Halliburton in a tournament, because he obviously has a massive ceiling, and he 10 straight double doubles, and anytime he gives you 20, you're getting 50 plus.
Yeah.
So I lean Kobe White, but it's closer, I think, than it's probably gonna be in ownership. I don't think anybody plays Tyrese Halliburton today. Actually, he's actually getting a lot of ownership.
Trying to figure out what we're going to do in our last piece in here. I got Giddy. You can move Williams and Hawkins and Murray around, I guess.
You can also move Giddy to forward.
You can move Giddy to forward. That's true. I forgot they gave him that. All right, let's redo Giddy.
And just move Hawkins to guard, like point guard, just to give ourselves like a little the ability to. I hate that range. 60. I hate that range.
It's a kind of a gross range spot here. So that gives us 63 for util.
Well, if you played, maybe if you play, who was it that I just had? Jeff Doughton over Zaire, possibly, and switch. You'd have to switch Hawkins there because Doughton's only point guard.
That's still
like a better
couple
range.
$100. And Keon, go get back to Brooklyn play.
I don't think you need Brooklyn, but if you wanted to, like Kelly Olynyk, I don't ever feel the need to like spend all my money.
Sure.
So, like Kelly Olynyk probably makes a lot of sense there.
All right. Dowden, Hawkins, Edwards, Banchero, Jordan, Murray, Giddy, and Olynyk, $600 left over for all of you. Again, we'll have updated ownership on site as it comes through to us. Generally, around 6:30, we'll have the latest update for you all. Grandad's got his playbook. He'll have all of the updates in the playbook until 7 o'clock for you there as well. And then we'll be in the Discord for the rest of the night. Make sure you have those notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the news for this slate. We'll be back tomorrow, everybody. Until then, good luck tonight. We'll catch you later.
This is the Fantasy